enjoy the video. The negative rake scraper is easily one of my favourite tools, and I've now got these beautiful limited edition versions on my website. The negative rake scraper, the steel bit is from Woodcut Tools in New Zealand, and I've coupled it with a beautiful fiddleback red gum handle. The handle is a really substantial handle, nice and big, because you do need a big handle for these negative rake scrapers. So anyway, have a look on the website. They're there. They are a limited edition, so I will only be doing a maximum of 100 of these. Anyway, I have done a video on the use of the negative rake scraper, and I did promise a follow-up video on how to actually sharpen the things. Some people do need a little bit of help with sharpening, so that's what this video is all about. Now remember, the negative rake scraper is a finishing tool. It is fantastic for finishing off the inside of bowls in particular, but you can also use it on the outside of bowls. You can also use it on spindles, but primarily it was designed as a finishing tool for bowls. Now, because of that, we've got a fairly long bevel here, and that bevel has been ground at 25 degrees or thereabouts. Let's say 22 degrees, because I have actually got a gauge that tests 22 degrees. Now, what does 22 degrees mean? Well, the 22 degrees is best explained in this little diagram here, and the 22 degrees is the angle between a horizontal line going to the tip here and the angle that the bevel makes with that horizontal line. So the combined angle, or the included angle, would be 44 degrees. The grind angle for each bevel is 22 degrees. So that's the bevel, and because it is 22 degrees, we get this really keen edge here. And because it is a keen edge, because it is, I suppose, a delicate or fragile edge, it's a very sharp edge. It's great, as I say, for finishing off, but it also is, I suppose, easily worn out. So you do need to get good at sharpening these tools. I tend to use a bench grinder. I use the bench grinder mainly because I've got this CBN wheel, a 180 grit CBN wheel on this half-speed Vicmark grinder, bench grinder, 8-inch. That's the my optimal. That's my preferred. If you've got a water wheel, if you've got the Tormek or whatever else, then they're good as well for sharpening these. But this video is all about how I use this grinder to sharpen this tool. Now, they also can be sharpened by hand, and I'll get to that a little bit later on. Now, one of the advantages of the CBN wheels is, one, you can get them fine grits, and this one is 180 grit, so my finish on the tool or the bevel is going to be that much better than if you were using, for instance, a 80 grit aluminium oxide wheel. If you are using aluminium oxide, then I would prefer to see 120 grit, which is, I think, the finest an aluminium oxide wheel will go to. So that's what I would prefer if I was using aluminium oxide. Anyway, I'm not. I've got this CBN wheel. It is 40mm wide, so it's a good width for this. And the other advantage of the CBN wheels is that they don't get worn out. They don't start to cup in the middle, for instance, from a lot of sharpening of bowl gouges or any other gouge for that matter. So they do remain flat, and that's what you do need to sharpen these negative rake scrapers, a nice flat stone. Now, if you are using aluminium oxide, one of the first things you probably need to do is to dress it, so clean that wheel up. Now, I have also done a video on hand sharpening tools, and there's a couple of tips in there that might be relevant or helpful for this and can carry over into sharpening these negative rake scrapers. The other piece of equipment that is really handy is an adjustable platform. Now, this is the Vicmark version of the Vicmark adjustable platform, and I've now got this set at the right angle for sharpening this scraper. Very helpful to have a platform. To try and do it without the platform is going to be that much more difficult, or considerably more difficult. If you haven't got an 8-inch wheel, don't worry about it. In other words, a 6-inch wheel is fine. Now the only difference, I suppose, between 8-inch and 6-inch is the concavity, or how much of a hollow grind you will get on the bevel here. And with a 6-inch, you'll get a far more pronounced hollow grind or concave shape on the bevel itself. And that's the only difference. But really, the bevel is not an important feature of the negative rake scraper. What is really important is the edge itself. Because there's no bevel rubbing, what is doing all the work is that really keen edge. Now, as I said, the angle is 44 degrees, or that's the included angle, or 22 degrees for each bevel. Now, these gauges here, made by Vicmark, the Manta gauge, is quite a handy little device, because on here we've got a 22 degree. So if I put this on there like so, like that, so here's the straight edge that I'm putting along the top of the negative rake scraper, and here is my angle just in here, 22 degrees. So that helps me get that angle correct. So that's a handy little tool to have, that Manta gauge by Vicmark. Now, I did say that this platform was set up. Now I've just quickly unset it, so I've got it at the wrong angle at the moment. So how do we actually get this at the right angle? Well, here's a really good tip. Grab a Sharpie pen and we're going to blacken this bevel. Now with this black marker on the bevel, I can see exactly where the wheel is contacting this bevel. So I'm going to put that there, on there like so, flat on the tool rest, or the platform I should say, and I'm going to do a little bit of grinding. Now you can see there that it is just grinding towards the tip. I want it grinding the whole way down the bevel. Now it means that the platform at this point has got to come backwards a little bit. And have another go. And there, I think that's right now, but I'll just check by doing it around there a little bit. And you can see that it's pretty good. It's almost to the edge, and perhaps with a bit of sharpening that will go to the edge, or we can give that a little bit of a tap downwards and see if that helps. And there we have it. That's perfect at the moment. So now we are ready, or the platform is set exactly where we want it. Some points to remember about sharpening the negative rake scraper is that, number one, make sure you keep this surface flat on your platform. It's quite easy to actually drop the handle or even lift the handle up. So really do focus on that. Concentrate on keeping that as you are rotating the handle around. The steel gets kept flat on our platform. The other thing is that we don't want to press hard into our wheel. Just a light touch. In other words, let the wheel do the work. It's not you pushing into the wheel that is going to get that sharp, that edge sharp. And the other thing is that we are going to, whichever section that we are sharpening, we are going to keep perpendicular to the rotation of the wheel. So let's say we are sharpening this point here of our tool. Make sure that that section there is perpendicular to the rotation of the wheel. So because it is curved, it's a little bit confusing, but that small little section there is perpendicular to that rotation. So that's how I'm going to sharpen that little bit. If I want to sharpen around here, I've got to get that perpendicular, so I've got to rotate or swivel the handle until that section is perpendicular to the wheel. Notice these fingers pushing down, or pushing the tool down onto the platform, rotating around, like so. Now, one of the neglected areas of sharpening these is this area down here, this extension of the bevel right down here. We've really got to get to that, and that's one of the advantages of this wide wheel, is I can really get to that extra bit. So you need to rotate the handle just that little bit further around so that we do actually sharpen right down here as well. Now we shouldn't really need any more when we're doing this than one pass. So it should really just be something like that, through that bevel, turn the scraper around and do the other bevel, and that's all you need to do. It's not a matter of going backwards and forwards, It's just unnecessary. You're just taking a lot more steel off than you really need to. Now that's the process I use to sharpen these scrapers using a bench grinder. Now let's go and have a quick look at how we can sharpen them using a diamond paddle. Now there's a couple of things that will make sharpening this by hand a lot easier, and the first one is to actually brace the tool. Get it in a position where it is not going to move, and you can hold it with one hand and sharpen with the other. I've got it in the lathe like so. So this handle end is in one of the webbing or the braces on the bed of the lathe, and as you can see, the other end is on the tool rest itself. The lathe is obviously a good thing to use for your bracing of this because, well, more often than not, you're on the lathe when you want to sharpen this. The other thing is that with anything that you want to sharpen this with by hand, it needs to be lubricated. In the case of the diamond paddles, it's water. And that's important so that we keep the pores of the diamond grit itself nice and clean or free of any grit. So when I come to sharpen this, I'm pushing down on the tool. It's nicely braced, so it's not going to move, and I've got this arm or this hand free to do the sharpening, like so. Now, how do we get the angle right here? Well, that is not as hard as you might think. So we'll get the camera in a bit close and I'll show you exactly what I'm going to do here. What I'm going to do is I've got such a long bevel here that I'm actually going to use that length of the bevel to my advantage. I'm going to grab my paddle and I'm going to, with this index finger, I'm going to push down in the middle, just there like so, so that I can actually feel that the paddle is on both, or it's actually going to be resting both on the back and the front of this bevel. It won't be resting in the middle, and the simple reason being that this is a hollow grind. So it has got a bit of a curve to it, and this being straight, the paddle being straight, means that it will only touch at the heel or the back of the bevel and the front of the bevel, like so. Now, with it on that angle, that's my correct angle there, I'm just going to, as I go backwards and forwards, I'm going to just feel for it. There's a sense of feeling that it's right, but also I can do a bit of a check and I can look carefully and I can actually see the polished areas. I can see a polished area around the cutting edge and around here, and if that is the case, then I know that I'm doing it right. Check it out, wipe that water away, and I can see that it's polished both on the back and the front of that bevel. That's right. Now I'm going to go around to the other section. And so really, because I've got such a big flat there, because this is flat, get the bevel or the paddle resting on the front and the back of the bevel and honing carefully, slowly, and we should be right. Flip that over and we can do the other side. that's it for this video. I hope you found that useful. I apologise for it taking so long to get this video done. Anyway, there it is. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. My subscriptions are trending in the right direction at the moment, which is upwards and onwards and upwards, which is fantastic. So thank you to all who have subscribed. And remember, there's a lot of information, or there's a good way to keep up to date with what I'm doing by liking my Facebook page, U-Turn with Brendan Stemp. If you want to support my efforts, one way is to hop online and get into that shop of mine and purchase everything you want from there. Apart from that, we'll leave it there. Keep turning safely, and I'll see you another time.